Imagine that one day your daughter, your precious little girl, just doesn't come home from school, but you find out that she's been abducted by Islamic terrorists. Well, you see, it can't happen here. Let's hope it never does. But that nightmare is all too real for families in the nation of Nigeria after a group called Boko Haram kidnapped more than 300 girls.
The U.S. is sending help to Nigeria in hopes of finding those schoolgirls as the crisis is gaining worldwide attention. Dale Hurd has the story.
Boko Haram took another 11 girls captive Monday night. That's on top of the 276 they're still holding after a raid on a school 3 weeks ago. Boko Haram's goal is to establish an Islamic caliphate in Nigeria with Sharia law. In the process, thousands of Christians and Muslims have been killed. This is their leader bragging about the kidnappings.
The more time goes by, I think the less likely it is that they will be rescued.
This girl is one of 53 who escaped. She says, "We thought they were soldiers and they asked us to board the vehicle which was headed toward Mboa. And my friends and I jumped from the vehicle and ran back home because we realized they didn't look innocent." President Obama says the U.S. has sent a collaboration cell to Nigeria.
They've accepted our help, a combination of military, law enforcement, and other agencies who are going in, trying to identify where, in fact, these girls might be and to provide them help.
In Washington, demonstrators gathered at the Nigerian embassy demanding the government there do more to find the girls. Nigeria's government has said it doesn't know where the girls are and needs Western help. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, we need a battalion of special forces of the United States in there to show those terrorists the way a real power works and put them out of business. I just think this is shocking what they're doing, and they stands up there with a rifle, and he's so tough back in the bush when he's got a few little girls as captive. We'll put some real men against him and watch what happens. Well, in other news, there's another report of Islamic violence, this time out of the nation of Sudan. John Jessup has that story from Washington. Here's John.
Pat, a Sudanese warplane bombed a Catholic hospital in the Nuba Mountains of southern Sudan. We have video here. Watch as this priest spots the plane and then runs for cover when the bomb drops. The Islamic regime in Khartoum has waged war against black Africans and Christians in the Nuba region for decades. President Omar Bashir is wanted by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. Bishop Makram Max Gassis called on Bashir to protect the hospital from future attacks.
International law demands that civilians are protected during conflicts, but the attack on the hospital is a direct violation of this fundamental humanitarian principle. It is a violation of the sacredness of all human life, which we must protect at all costs.
The hospital was at triple capacity because the government has been increasing its attacks to drive people from the region. One person was injured in the bombing. Here at home, critics are calling the new White House report on climate change alarmist. The report says global warming is already causing extreme weather. Republicans believe President Obama simply will use it to push new regulations on the energy industry. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell said that could include a national energy tax.
And I'm sure he'll get loud cheers from liberal elites, from the kind of people who leave a giant carbon footprint and then lecture everybody else about low-flow toilets.
McConnell also said that more regulations wouldn't really make a difference.
So even if we were to enact the kind of national energy regulations the president seems to want so badly, it would be unlikely to meaningfully impact global emissions anyway, unless other major industrial nations do the same thing. That means getting countries like China and India on board. The president knows that. The president also knows that much of the pain of imposing such regulations would be borne by our own middle class.
A recent Gallup poll found that climate change ranked next to last out of 15 different issues. Only 24% of the public worries about it a great deal, and 51% say they worry about it a little or not at all. Pat, both supporters and opponents of the administration see this as setting the groundwork for more curbing emissions pushes by the administration.
Well, it's a body blow to American industry, and it's a body blow that's a socialist agenda. It's part of the playbook of Obama's mentor, and this is the way that they want to destroy America. It's not something that's set up to really curb global warming. How can you curb emissions when the Chinese are pouring more and more? About one, what do they say, about one a week a new coal plant comes online in either China or India. They're taking the coal from America, putting it in their plants and pumping it into the atmosphere. Well, we live in one globe, and so the United States cuts back on its energy, and it causes the middle class to have to pay more for electricity. What have we accomplished? All we've done is weaken our country. And that makes no sense at all. But it is high on the agenda of the radicals who want to destroy America. It isn't high on the agenda of those who really care about what goes on in life. John?
Pat, fewer and fewer new businesses are being created here in the United States, and that could mean a weak economy in the years ahead. That's a finding from a study by the Brookings Institute, a think tank here in Washington, D.C. New businesses are a key factor in sustained economic growth and for creating new jobs. The study found the growth of new businesses has been falling in all 50 states in practically every major metropolitan area for the last 3 decades. The authors say they don't know why the number of new businesses has fallen off, but they say it implies the economy will continue to grow slowly for the indefinite future. Israel has existed for thousands of years, but as a modern nation, it's still relatively young. In fact, on Tuesday, the Jewish state turned 66 years old. But now a unique project is underway to preserve the history of Israel's early years by recording the memories of those who lived through them. Chris Mitchell brings us this look at what's called the Israel Chronicles.
The project is called Toldot Israel, which means the Chronicles of Israel, which is a project which is dedicated to recording the first-hand stories of people who were either involved in Israel's War of Independence or the pre-state era, or simply witnesses to different aspects of the founding of the state.
Executive Director Aryeh Halevny says many interview subjects don't understand that their story is special.
They don't see themselves as heroes. They said, look, what was I supposed to do? This is just what we needed to do at the time.
Elad and Zimra Peled met in 1946 in the Palmach, the Jewish pre-state defense, and they married during the War of Independence.
Elad was 20 years old, and he commanded Sfat, which is a very complex community, and he did it successfully.
So far, the project has interviewed 700 people, logging 3,000 hours of interview time. They're hoping to get several hundred more interviews, but since that generation is aging, time is running out. Some of these personal stories have been turned into short documentaries, like this one about the historic UN vote that created the State of Israel.
You spoke to the Belgian, and you spoke to the Swede, and you spoke to the Brazilian, preaching, explaining why all the time.
There were a number of us working at the same time also on getting votes. We sent down to Haiti a Protestant minister by the name of Sheldon, who was also believed that the Jews should have a homeland.
The material will be housed at Israel's National Library, and people can also access it online. The Peleds hope the project will help teach the younger generations.
People don't know the history of this country.
Many days when we went to bed, we didn't know if we'll get up in the morning still alive, and if this whole so-called country will survive.
In our generation, we talked about we and not I. In this generation now, individualizing everything, they lose a lot.
When people try to complain, this is bad, that is bad, we had worse situations already. and we overcame it.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Finally, in health news, if you're obese by the time you're 25, you have a much higher risk of being severely obese by the time you're 35. That's the finding from a study reported by Medical News Today. Obesity has been linked to numerous serious diseases like heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and some cancers. But the story adds there is a silver lining. People who lose weight at any stage of life can also cut their risk for illness. Pat, it sounds like there's always hope to make a change to your body.
Do you know women who think love is shown at the family dinner table?
Well, they say that's the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Well, they think the way to show love for their little children is to
Right.
stuff them full of food, give them sweets. Oh, little Johnny loves Mama's chocolate cake and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm going to make Johnny happy. And little Johnny's feeding, with both hands. And he doesn't like regular cereal. He wants Sugar Pops and Captain Crunch and all that stuff.
It's really kind of a form of child abuse, isn't it?
Well, it is a fulfillment of the parent's desire to be loved by the child. And I'm showing you love. The way I do this is to give you cake and ice cream and lots of sweets because that's what you want. And as a result, we're killing them. A child can't eat anything unless you give it to him. If you only give him carrots and celery and broccoli sprouts and stuff like that, and Brussels sprouts and broccoli, that's what he gets to eat. And he's hungry, he'll eat it. And he'll learn to like it. And his psyche will grow apace, but at the same time, his body will be strong. But if you let him sit there behind a computer or playing video games all day long in front of a TV set or whatever, you'll ruin him. And that isn't showing love. That's not loving to kill your kid so by the time he's 35, he's obese. And you see some of these children, they're obscenely fat when they get to be 10 years old.
And then it's so much harder when you're older to get off.
Yes,
So yeah,
absolutely. Okay.
start young.
An Ohio teacher fired for refusing to remove religious materials from his classroom is taking his case all the way to the Supreme Court. 8th grade science teacher John Freshwater displayed a Bible, Christian books, and a poster of a president praying. The Ohio Supreme Court ruled last November that the public school district was right to fire him for refusing to remove those materials. But the court also ruled the school should not have forced him to remove his personal Bible from his desk. His attorney says the case's most significant constitutional issues have yet to be resolved. Hospital officials in Colorado say more people are getting burned as they try to extract a potent oil found in marijuana. Golden hash oil can comprise up to 80% of THC, which is the plant's intoxicating chemical. But extracting the oil is a dangerous process that sometimes causes fiery explosions. Colorado authorities say there have been at least 31 explosions since January, and several people have been treated for second and third degree burns. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.